I feel like I've been slapped by polygamy. It's hard not to be bitter about the fact that I bought off on it and did it because in the end, in the last moments of it, it felt terrible. I don't want to pursue another woman because I don't want that headache, the questions, the struggles, the wonder about trust. I'm not in that space. Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. Today is Friday, May 2nd, 2025. In the most recent episode of Sister Wives, Kody Brown sat down with Robin and had a conversation about his relationships with his children, claiming that things were improving. However, on their Patreon, Michael T and Tony watched the same episode and shared their thoughts, revealing that although Kody's relationships with his children might have appeared better at that moment, they have since gotten worse. When they moved from Utah to North Carolina, most of the communication between Kody and the rest of the family faded. Since Michael T and Tony had often acted as the bridge between Kody, Christine, and the children, stepping out of that role allowed those relationships to drift further apart. After the tragic passing of Garrison, whatever connection remained became even more strained. Even though Kody suggested on the show that things were improving between him and his children, Michael T stated that this was not the case. In reality, the relationships have deteriorated further. She believes that the only way those relationships could be repaired is if Kody accepts responsibility for his behavior, especially the cruel things he said about his kids. According to her, the healing process must start with him acknowledging, validating, and apologizing for the hurtful comments he made. She emphasized that it isn't the fault of his ex-wives that these relationships are fractured. It's the result of the harsh language he used both publicly and privately about his children and their mothers. Michael T also pointed out that she dislikes when her father speaks about all his kids as one group, saying things like, "All my kids feel this way," or "All my kids behave like that." She wishes he would treat them as individuals rather than generalizing, but she believes he avoids singling out any one of them in an effort to protect them, even though the generalizations themselves are still painful and damaging. Nonetheless, she remains hopeful that reconciliation is possible, but only if Kody is genuinely willing to take responsibility, go through a deep and honest process of healing, and not attempt to gloss over what happened. She believes that healing these relationships would require him to start from the ground up, breaking everything down and rebuilding with true accountability and sincerity. At this point, Kody's relationships with his children haven't improved. In fact, they've gotten worse since Garrison's death. That leads us to a recent legal update. Kody seems to be backing down in the custody dispute involving Truly. Just yesterday, in a Utah courtroom, Kody and Christine reached a settlement concerning child support. Although the full details of the agreement aren't publicly available yet, the fact that they settled indicates a major change from the situation last September. Back in September, Christine filed for custody, parenting time, and child support. Kody responded with a countersuit that many saw as petty and vindictive, especially since he had little to no relationship with Truly. It seemed clear, both to fans and observers, that Kody's main goal was to avoid paying child support. Now, however, the two have come to an agreement, and Kody has submitted a child support worksheet and a statement of compliance. These forms required both Christine and Kody to submit documentation of their incomes, such as pay stubs or 1,099 forms, along with their recent tax returns. These financial disclosures are used to calculate child support according to Utah's guidelines, which consider the type of custody arrangement: joint, split, or sole custody. The state uses uniform calculations to ensure fairness and enforceability. Truly turned 15 in April, and her age is likely a significant factor in this case. At this stage, she has the right to voice where she wants to live, while Kody might argue that he wants more time with her. Unless he can prove that a strong emotional connection already exists, the court is unlikely to side with him. In the recent episode, Kody talked about not having relationships with his kids unless he lives with them, placing the blame on Christine. That seemed to be a setup for a possible legal argument claiming parental alienation. But the reality in court is that older children Truly can speak for themselves. Judges tend to consider the wishes of older teens, especially when they have strong support systems, as Truly does. She lives with her mother, has a supportive stepfather, and maintains close relationships with her siblings. particularly Aspen and Michael, who were deeply involved in raising her. When they moved out, Gwendolyn and Isabel stepped up to help, continuing that nurturing environment. Her sisters have always played a central role in her life. Given those strong family connections and the absence of an active relationship between Truly and Kody, it would have been extremely difficult for him to argue for custody. And according to Tony in the same Patreon conversation, Kody rarely visits Utah. Tony also said that Robin tends to make Kody feel guilty or punished when he travels without her, which limits his ability to visit his other children. Kody can only be away for a short time before there's emotional fallout at home, what Tony described as the cost of going. But marrying a man who already had children from other women should have come with the understanding that co-parenting would be part of that life. In truth, Kody only sees Truly a few times a year, and those visits have generally been arranged by others, often by his older children. There is no real ongoing bond between Kody and Truly. In fact, when someone asked if Truly received a Valentine's Day gift like the vanity Robin's daughter Ariella got, the answer was no. Not even a card or a phone call, as far as Michael and Tony know. They also noted that Kody only started buying his daughter's chocolates once he had more money. And even now, he gives elaborate gifts that he never provided in the past. Michael criticized how he brags about investing in Coyote Pass, even though he didn't financially support his kids. His wives carried most of the burden, and now, for the first time, there are legal consequences for that lack of support. With this settlement, Kody is now legally required to provide support for Truly until she turns 18 or finishes high school, whichever comes later. If he fails to make these payments, Christine now has legal options to enforce the order. In Utah, unpaid child support can even result in jail time. Christine could also file a claim with the Office of Recovery Services, which would help recover any overdue amounts. According to Utah's laws, failure to pay child support could be considered criminal. If Kody owes more than $10,000 in arrears or fails to pay for over 2 years, he could be charged with a felony under Utah Code Section 76-7-201. Christine has spent years bearing the financial and emotional responsibility for her children alone. Now, at least, she has a court-backed guarantee of support. Although it's frustrating that Kody avoided accountability for so long, this legal step marks a turning point. He no longer has the freedom to decide whether or not to pay based on how he feels about Christine. In the past, he would withdraw from a wife's children to punish her for perceived wrongs, failing to recognize that being a father is not conditional. Christine has always said she wanted him to be involved with the kids, but she couldn't force it. Only he could decide to be a present parent. Now, by signing the settlement, Kody is being held responsible. We don't yet know whether the agreement includes back payments, but it is a binding legal document. Truly still has 3 more years before adulthood, and during that time, Kody will be expected to meet his financial obligations. The agreement is court-approved and enforceable. If he violates it, Christine can pursue legal action, including contempt of court charges. Eventually, the details of the agreement may become public. And while it's a positive development that Kody isn't fighting Christine in court anymore, the timing does raise questions. With the next Sister Wives episode focusing on Garrison's passing, this move could be an attempt to improve his image and reduce incoming criticism. Regardless of the motive, it's a step toward accountability. For the first time, Christine has the law on her side to ensure Kody contributes financially, and he will face real consequences if he fails to follow through.